Hey y'all, welcome to Bobbi Jo's. Bobbi Jo's not here today because we're going to a doctor's appointment. I've got a few emails from people asking me how Steve's doing since his surgery, and we're going to follow up with the surgeon. I've also gotten some emails wanting to know a little more detail about what he did, but I didn't go into all that. I hadn't had time to answer emails. So this is my answer to all the emails. Steve's going to explain it on the way to the doctor.
In one word, stupidity. Because there's two options for people my age to get hurt. The first option is thinking you're a young guy. And the second option is stupidity, which is kind of a male thing. I was using a tool, implement, whatever you want to call it, in a way it wasn't intended to be used. It was a T-post driver, and I'd put 4 T-posts in the ground, and then it was after it had rained.
It was raining. It wasn't after. We had the floods. If you saw the Chattanooga floods on the news a few weeks ago,
yeah, we
had the floods the day before. And then the next day, he decided, well, it's still raining some, but the ground should be soft enough that I can, look at them, just run right on through the red light and then about take the front end of my car off.
Yeah. So anyway, I was adding a section to her compost bin.
And it's basically just T-post with pallets over it to make...
Right. Well, there was a pallet that was in the ground, so it had compost up against it, so I couldn't really remove it. So I turned the T-post driver over to drive it down, to drive the T-post down with the weighted end. He
was trying to use it as a hammer because he was using the solid end instead of the hollow end like you're supposed to do.
Anyway, my hand slipped off on my last time I was going to hit it, whether it was intended to be the last time or not, it was. And my thumb got caught in between the T-post driver and the top of the T-post with the thumbnail facing down. I hit it more on the knuckle of my thumb, and the pain was excruciating, and I about passed out immediately. But I was hollering for her because she'd gone back inside, so I was unsupervised. So it was kind of her fault because she left me unsupervised.
I went out to check on him and to fuss at him, which he loves when I fuss at him.
I do. That brings us so close together.
And fuss at him about doing this in the rain, and that I was going to complete the project in the fall when it was cooler. And he thought it was good to do it in the rain. And I was like, well, I'm not standing out here in the rain. I'll leave you at it. So that's why I left.
It was raining okay. But what I had done, the injury left a nice little mark on my thumb. It obviously broke the skin.
I'll put pictures in when I post the video. So if you're squeamish, you want to stop the video now and then return after,
or at least look away.
This is out my kitchen window, but over here it looks like it's a lake out there with little waves where all that water's draining in, and it's backing up into our yard. But it hadn't got up to the fence yet, but it's still draining down there because all the stuff from the neighborhood drains down on this side. But it's still got a ways to go before it gets up here. Our garage is pretty flooded though, both sides.
There was a piece of white body part showing that was either bone or tendon. I didn't like cleanly break the bone, but I fragmented some of the bone on the knuckle to where they had to reattach that with pin or pins. I'm not really sure.
He said your bone was fractured in several spots, and then it was kind of shattered in a spot.
Yeah.
Where there were bone fragments. So
right, but it was more on the end of the knuckle from what I saw in the X-rays. But
I could put his X-rays in there too, showing the pins.
Yeah. They also reattached the partially detached tendon with a pin. So it could have been more than one pin for the bones and one pin for the tendon.
I think the pins were for the bones. But we'll find out.
Yeah, we're about to find out at the doctor visit. But anyway, I did it on a Wednesday, went to the ER that day, and the guy that sewed it up, who was an excellent doctor, he sewed like it was sewing on a baseball glove.
I think he did a good job.
But he did a good job for what he had to work with. The next day, I went to the surgeon, and that was on I did it on Wednesday. Went to the surgeon on Thursday, had surgery the following Monday, and that was like 10 days ago. This is a Thursday, so it was about 10 days between the post-op visit and the surgery. Another interesting little side note is in my medical files, it has a note about how I don't do well with anesthesia, and the only word they have in there is combative. Well, I'm 6'3", and my weight is down around 305, between 305 and 310.
Which are down about 45, 50 pounds.
Yeah,
so
I've been heavier. But the little anesthesiologist is a little jogger who was about 5'3", 5'4", and she weighed about 105, maybe 110 on a good day if her shoes are wet. And, they ended up having to call some male nurses in there to try to help.
One male nurse, he wasn't that big. I was bigger than he was.
So part of my combativeness is not using an inside voice.
Definitely not using an inside voice.
I'm fairly belligerent.
He wants to get out of the bed.
Yeah, because I'm agitated. I'm very anxious. Claustrophobic, and they have these curtains pulled around because it's like you don't get individual recovery rooms.
The recovery room is just curtains like it used to be in the ERs.
Yeah.
Or EDs now. They call them emergency departments now instead of emergency rooms. But
right, because it's more than one room. But it's it took me about an hour and a half.
Well, let me tell my part.
Okay.
So the surgeon calls me and says, okay, the surgery took a little longer, but it went well. I think, we'll be able to tell in the next couple of weeks if his bone's going to heal, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I'm like, well, how did he do waking up from anesthesia? And he goes, well, we haven't woken him from anesthesia yet. We're just finishing up here, and we're going to get him awake and get him in the recovery room. And I said, well, call me if you need me. Well, 5 minutes later, here comes this little nurse out, or I don't know, she may have been a patient tech or something, and I was like, yes, and I was like, okay, they need me. So she's like, we don't typically let anybody back in the recovery room, but he is really wanting you. And as soon as I walked in the recovery room, he is on the other end of the recovery room, and I can hear him calling my name, just screaming my name. So I get over there, and the doctor was just leaving, and there were all these little nurses around, and I'm like, y'all need some hefty nurses in here to deal with him, and y'all need some that know tough love, because he don't do well with all this pampering stuff. You just got to be tough with him. But Anyway, that's what happened. That's how I ended up in the recovery room. And then I kept telling the nurses, I was like, just leave him alone. He'll do better if you just leave him alone, because they're trying to talk to him and try to talk sense into him, but he doesn't even know what he's doing.
They were trying to reason with me, and I am extremely unreasonable at this point.
You didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know anything. You were being rude, and I mean, you were being totally opposite of what you normally are. And
her quote when we were on the way home was, she says, "I don't like mean Steve. I still love you, but I don't like you when you're mean."
Well, the reason I did that was because in the recovery room, I'm sitting here fussing with him, telling him he has to breathe, because he'll stop breathing for a minute or two. And I'm like, Steve, breathe in, breathe out. And he's like, I'm breathing. And I said, well, you're not doing it enough. You need to do it more. You're going to end up in the hospital like you did after your gallbladder surgery. So he's like saying, well, she's mean. That's what he said. He said it just like that. And the little nurse says, do I need to have her leave? And he goes, no, I love her. I need her. No, she's mean, but I love her. I need her.
And I remember enough from previous surgical experiences to fully believe that, and don't think she's exaggerating.
I wish I would have videoed it, but I don't know if they allow video camera. You pull camera out in a recovery room, especially when you're not even supposed to be back there. So I didn't.
Yeah.
But it would have been a good video to have to show him what I have to deal with when he's waking up from anesthesia.
So I was awake pretty much from when they brought me off the anesthesia, but I wasn't really what I would call conscious until about the last 30 minutes or so. But I'm still having the anxiety, the belligerentness, and the claustrophobia.
They were going to get you some more anxiety medicine to put in your IV, and
it took them too long.
It took them too, which I'm glad, because I didn't think you needed it. This lane ends, doesn't it?
Eventually, yes. Well, so one of the little nurses, she was back there, and I remember asking her name and then spelling her name for her, like, is that how you spell it? You know. And,
she was scared.
She was scared of me because she ended up leaving the area where I was, and I saw her behind the OR the recovery room desk, and she would just, if I looked at her and made eye contact,
is that your recording?
Yeah. Okay. She would turn around and like duck into an area so she didn't I think I made her a little nervous.
Well, I think we both did, because she was trying to reason with you, and me, I'm over there like, just leave him alone. He'll snap out of it in about 30-45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, he doesn't, because they kept wanting to put your gown back on you, because you were taking your gown off and everything, but it was because you were feeling so confined.
Right.
And I said, just leave him. It's okay. I mean, the more you try to do stuff for him, the worse he's going to get. And so they all left and just let me take care of him. They came and checked your vitals every so often, but it's not like they just left you alone altogether. They were standing there watching and listening, because everybody in the recovery room could hear everything that was going on. Because
like I said,
he did not know how to keep his voice down.
It wasn't an inside voice.
It was entertaining.
To her.
And if you don't want me telling all this, I can cut part of it out.
I don't care one way or another. I mean, somebody can probably hack into my chart and read it if they want to.
I can edit it. Well, all my chart said was you experienced emergence delirium.
Yeah.
They really need to make those.
That was a nice way to put it.
They really need to make those arrows brighter.
Yeah. Well,
we're going downtown Chattanooga here, and you'll be able to see the bridges and the river, and hopefully they don't have anything going on down here, because They've got Walnut Street Bridge closed right now, but it's a walking bridge where you can walk from one side of the river to the other, but they're remodeling it. But that is what's right up here.
Yeah, that's the bridge
first
up
one
here,
here.
with the wrought iron, whatever, on the side of
But
it.
they usually have stuff going on down here, so you can't get through.
Yeah, especially as you get closer to the weekends.
But it's very pretty down here, and there's plenty of places to walk and do things, and they got a river boat, and they got the Chattanooga ducks that you can go on a ride.
Yeah, I think the ducks are...
Over here's the aquarium.
Yeah, the aquarium's to our
Tennessee
left.
Aquarium. I don't know if you can see it on the video, can you?
You probably could right before we mentioned it. But yeah.
And then over here's where you get on the Chattanooga ducks. I mean,
Well,
no,
the
Chattanooga
riverboat.
Riverboat, yeah.
Well, I don't even remember the name of it.
The Southern Belle.
Yeah, there's the Southern Belle Landing. And underneath this bridge, I believe this might be the Veterans Bridge. Right in front of us. Underneath here is where the ducks load when they're running. And after school starts, I believe they just run like on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because the touristy season is kind of over.
I don't know. We're a national park city now. We might have to be touristy all year round. But I'd rather come here in the fall anyway, because it's prettier with all the leaves and it's cooler.
One of the funniest things, you know, I guess 3 Tuesdays ago now was somebody said when we had all the rain and the flooding, they were like, it's more like a national water park city.
Yes, it would. We could have set up some slides and...
Yeah. Well, we're almost to the doctor's office, so...
We'll give you an update when we get out.
We'll update when we get out.
Thanks for joining us on our trip.
Catch you later. Okay, we're back. I got a new splint brace, and I'm sure she'll post pictures of the pins.
Like little push pins.
Yeah, the yellow pin is about 3 inches into my thumb, kind of going vertical down the bone. The red pin is holding a little...
Is this one way?
Well, it's got a stop sign up here.
Well, why is all these vehicles parked right here?
They're challenged.
Is that a restaurant?
I guess. It's got chairs.
This is gonna be... I should have went out in the light.
Probably. Well, you can shoot across if you're quick. Anyway, the red pin looks like it's maybe an inch.
Well, don't look my way. You just go on and look that way, because there's traffic coming. Where? From this side? No, it's one way.
Yeah, she's challenged. Anyway, the little red pin is kind of holding the bone shard in place, the smaller part of the bone. He called it something, and I can't remember what he called it.
A fragment.
Well,
A chip.
no, it was something like
There's the duck.
not the teapot. Hey, there's Barry.
There's Barry. Should we go chase him down?
Nah.
I ain't got
The guy
time.
driving that duck that just went by is a friend of mine for only about 43 years, 42 years. So if you come to Chattanooga and ride the ducks, ask for Captain Barry.
Looks like they gave him a paint job.
Yeah, they probably did. So it's 11:55. You got time to get me home and get you to your appointment.
Yeah, I have an appointment at 1. So up here on the right is the aquarium.
Yeah, that building with the pointed top. That looks like one of our resident crazy people.
So anyway, back to the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
It's going to be about 6 to 8 months.
Before I'm fully recovered.
Yes. I believe I told you that. And you were like, no, 6 weeks. I'm like, no, 6 weeks is just to get the pins out. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm an expert at bone fragments and pins and rods and all of that.
Yeah, but I'm getting mine out. Huh.
I know, mine's still in.
Yeah,
But mine's in a larger bone than yours. Yours is a little tiny bone.
Yeah, that's true. So, the interesting part is going to be cleaning this a couple times a day. What he's saying? Peroxide, a mix of peroxide.
Peroxide and water.
But what did he say the ratio was? Like 3 to 1, 2 to 1?
He didn't say a ratio.
Oh, I thought he did.
I'll take care of it.
Okay. Well, peroxide and saline. And then like a soapy water type thing. But there was a little pus coming out.
They called you in some antibiotics just in case you do have an infection. He did say that they had to get like down into the fracture because there was so much dirt in the fractured bone itself.
Yeah. So that's encouraging in its own way. I hope he was able to get everything out. But that's why the antibiotics, again, for infection. So
This road really needs repaving.
yeah. So when he was telling me about the antibiotic, which is called Bactrim, there was noise in the background.
He needs hearing aids, but he's not going to say that part. But go ahead.
And I heard him say back and then the TR, tra, and I thought he said back trouble. And I'm like, well, yeah, how do you think I gained all this weight? And he looked at me like, you know, I had a third eyeball or something.
Did you explain to
And I was
him?
like, oh, I thought you said back trouble. He said, no, Bactrim. Do you have any problems with Bactrim? Because he was asking what I was allergic to. And I said, well, I went through that little short list. But anyway.
I was telling the nurse everything because she was like, you were walking away talking about it. So I said, this is what he's allergic to. He hasn't had any problems with antibiotics so far, but it could possibly happen.
Yes.
He hasn't been on a whole lot of antibiotics, though. He's been fairly healthy. So anyway, that is our... Anything else you got to say?
No, not really. I'm just... It sounds like I may not be able to participate in my fall softball league.
I told you that already, but you didn't want to believe me. You had to hear it from the doctor.